hey, you know what? I'm sick of having to deal with this renter. I'm sick of having to deal with this rental management company. There's always some sort of pain that this owner is going to have at some point.
All right, welcome LabCoatAgents. It looks like we are live. According to that, we never know, but according to my thing, it says we are live. So welcome today. We're going to be talking about a great way to potentially get some new listings today. As you know, for the last year and a half, everyone's topic is listings and listings and listings. So we're going to talk today about a different way that many of you probably haven't used and maybe haven't even thought of. So we've got some great guests here with us today. We've got Allison from RedX. We've got Brendan Bartic, who's a mega team owner and a coach, and Barry Jenkins, who's our realtor in residence in Wailopo, runs a huge, massive team also in Virginia. So without any further ado, I'm just going to pass it over to Brendan, and we'll talk a little bit about Absentee and maybe what you're doing, and then we'll actually show some little bit about some screens and how you can use RedX to as your platform to actually go out, get some of these leads, and then we'll show you the plan to follow up with them. Before I do that, there will be a special offer today, so please stay tuned for that. There's a great opportunity for you guys to get a discount on RedX if that's something you don't already have. And I also want to remind everybody, I'm sure we'll have amazing content from our people today, so this will be available on replay over YouTube. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Brendan.
Well, thanks, Brian. Great introduction. I'm excited to be here with everyone. So when we talk about absentee owners, the first thing we have to think about is at some point, these absentee owners are going to sell their property. So absentee owner meaning that they own a property, they live in another area or state, and they don't live in or occupy the property. And we're going to talk about today how to market to them, how to leverage RedX to find them, to call them, and how to have that appropriate conversation. So to start this off, it is a system. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. The first thing we have to do is identify. When I teach agents this normally, I say, look, let's not try to take every absentee owner. That would be impossible to cover. Let's focus on an area you feel comfortable in. Then you're going to use a service like the RedX to be able to pull the information of who is an absentee owner from the tax records, meaning that their home address shows as a different address than what's in the actual public record for that property. Then the next thing we need to do is figure out, okay, what are we going to call and talk to them about? And and I'm going to give you some of those talking points today. And then using RedX, using the systematic touch program that we teach, to make sure that you continue to follow up with them and be of value. So when the time comes, they go, hey, you know what? I'm sick of having to deal with this renter. I'm sick of having to deal with this rental management company. There's always some sort of pain that this owner is going to have at some point. Or somebody's going to pass away. Somebody's going to get divorced. Something's going to happen where things go a different way. And that's where those opportunities live if you're able to get the data and you were in relationship with them prior to provide them value until the time is right. So it's not like we're calling just to go, today they're going to do this. It's today we're calling, touching, connecting, following up. So when the time comes and that door opens, you're running through it.
Perfect. I noticed that you mentioned at the beginning of that, we're not going to go after everybody. And I appreciate that. Specific is always more powerful than general, right? Yes. So just my first question that some of the audience might be thinking about, well, how many people is a good group to farm? How many, are we talking about 50, 100, 200? What maybe be your minimum? And if I'm just starting, never done this before, maybe what's a maximum thing that I want to maybe target in this scenario?
Yeah. Great question, Brian. Yeah. So I would always start out with a minimum of 50. You have to start with at least 50. And the reason for the 50 is because most mailing programs and things that we're going to do require 50 to start with. And so it's just kind of an easy number to get going. Then the goal is master the 50 and then stack up and build more on. I always tell people I wanted to bench press 500 pounds. I wouldn't go try to throw up 500 pounds. I'd break my darn neck, right? It'd crush me. Right? I got to do 50, then 60, then 70, and I'll never get to probably 500. But me, my body can only take so much.
Me neither.
Right? Yeah. But some earlier days maybe. But But that way I can start building on. And then as the budget increases, the success comes from it. I see people, Brian, you're exactly right. Some people go, I'm going to start with 1,000, right? And then they start doing this whole crazy budget thing. They get lost in everything. It's not quantity, it's quality, right? It's 100% in this game. It's a quality game. And it's, if I called up this 50 people over a 6-month period, would they know your name? When they think of, I work, I assist landlords and tenant occupied properties. I help them, with all the value and information they're going to need so that they can make an educated decision if and when that time comes. If they can't say your name, then it's not working, right? If they don't know who you are, and you're not mixing that with passive marketing backed by active prospecting. Thank you, the RedX, right? We're not calling them. Brian, I also see people mail people to the end of time. They'll never call them. It's like, if you really think in this day and age, someone's going to pick up that phone and call you, that's tough. We hope so. We know that number is going to be very low. It's like 3% of somebody's going to end up doing that. But if I've marketed to them with my passive marketing over time, and then I call them and I go, hey, and I'll give you some scripts here in a second, it's a much easier transition.
Cool. So as you know, and Barry, feel free to jump in, Allison as well. Let's talk about some initial budget, because I think that's one of the reasons I think a lot of people shy away from doing any kind of, because this is farming, right? It's just a different version. You're farming a very specific group. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I can't afford to do farming. I can't afford $3,000 a month and not make any money for 6 months to 12 months. So, realistically with this 50, you started 50 as your minimum. Like, what kind of budget are we looking at, realistically, so that I can go, well, I can budget for that, or I can save to budget for that. What's a realistic starting number?
Yeah, so realistic, and it's going to sound crazy, $1 per door a month is how I always gauge everything to make it super easy, right?
Nice.
So if the mailer or the postcard, whatever you're starting out with, again, it's just to start to build your name in front of them, right? And we use things like TTL, right? Tenants, toilets, and late payments. Like, that's one of the things that we focus on with landlords, right? They hate their tenants because again, I have plenty of tenants. Well, and my wife's the same. She deals with most of the issues, but there's always a refrigerator breaking, an ice machine. They're complaining about this, whatever it is, right? And then toilets means something's always breaking, and then late payments, right? The owner gets annoyed that those things they're not getting their money in a timely manner. And especially with this moratorium of foreclosures, or excuse me, with tenants, it's been a problem as far as payments go. So all we're doing is, did you hit the pain point, and can I solve it and set you free from this? Is what we're trying to do. So I just estimate $1 per door per month.
Yeah, this is really interesting to me, Brian. I mean, I know for me, when I think about farming for absentee owners, the first thing I think of is being overwhelmed. Okay, I'm going to do this. I saw a guy on a RedX webinar talking about it. I'm going to try. And it's just like very overwhelming. And I think $1 a person per month really, it makes it to where it's actually doable now. And I know you're going to get into it, but the thing that I know most people are asking themselves right now is, when you call them, they don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it. And I know you're going to go over that in a little bit, but I think, the tenants, toilets, and the other, whatever the other
late payments, TTL,
Payment.
Tenants, toilets, and late payments.
Okay. When you say those, are those topics, do they integrate into what you say verbally and also what you send to them in the mail?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Every postcard or mailer is designed by, hey, are you struggling with this? Are you tired of this? We know that the national facts are right now that most tenant occupied properties are at least 1 month, if not 2 months behind on rent. Would you like to be free from all this? I mean, you don't say it exactly like that, but you more or less say that, right? It's just, all we're trying to do, I always think of the movie Inception. We're just trying to plant that seed in their brain, right? I always think that's our job as marketeers, is we plant that little seed, and then hopefully they start going. Then they're at dinner and they're going, oh my gosh, I just got a text from Nancy. The dishwasher's not working. Oh, remember that postcard we got? That guy said about all this. He's right. I'm so sick of having to deal with Nancy. Let's give him a call today, right? That's all we're hoping for. Or you're calling them in 2 or 3 weeks because they forgot about it at dinner, and then you call him and he's like, you know what, you're right. I'm sick of it. What's it worth right now? And I'll talk about that script. But
so let me ask you this, Brendan. The first step, I would guess, is to pull data, right?
oh yeah. So
Okay.
you want to pull data. So you can do this either using the RedX, which is by far probably the easiest way. But you want to start with parameters of neighborhoods, either a zip code. You might want to do it by zip code, town, depending upon where the lines of that map look. And then once you're doing that, you're going to pull all that data. You'll get a list of all of the absentee owners' addresses. Then you can also use the RedX to run their phone numbers, and their algorithm is fantastic, hopefully providing us with as many as we possibly can get.
Mhm.
Then you're going to set up your first mailer. Now, you hit the nail on the head, Brian, or maybe it was Barry that said, you can go to YouTube and watch these types of things and see all this. That's where we got all of our postcard ideas. We just Googled,
Nice.
how to mark. I think I watched a video on Barry from a while back. I can't remember what it was, and I was so impressed by it. I just use what's out there. I mean, there's so much available and people are so willing to share. You don't have to recreate the wheel. This is don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. You've got to get started, get the 50, set the date and say, look, it's August 18th, I'm going to mail my first mailer to these first 50 people, come heck or high water. It's going to happen. And then I'm going to do my first phone call on September 1st.
Love it. Why don't we take just a second and let Allison show you guys, everybody, how easy it is to actually pull that data from RedX, so that, because again, all of these things are pie in the sky. I'm going to pull data. What the heck does that mean? So Allison, if you do, I'm assuming you have permission to share your screen. We would love to, see the interface with RedX and how it works and how simple it is to just literally go find that first 50 people. And then we'll pass back to Brendan and show the actual process of how to deal with those people after we find them.
Absolutely. Yes. Let me share my screen really quick. Alrighty. Looks like there were a couple of questions on here as well of how to pull this data and if it's RedX with geo leads. You can actually filter any of our lead types in Vortex, it's called non-owner occupied. Same thing, absentee owner, non-owner occupied, they mean the same thing. So for example, this is my expired absentee filter right here. So I'll show you how this is set up. If you click on filters 2 up here, you can see I have expired selected, and then you click on more filters, and then under listing, I just have the check next to non-owner occupied. And so this filter that I have set up, you can see right here, 1,300 leads of just non-owner occupied leads. So Brendan, if we wanted to do like just 50, for example, we could do a specific geo lead search and we could find just do 50, or we can do 100, and then we can filter that by non-owner occupied, and then it'll show us how many are actually absentee owners in that area that we pulled. So I did a search. You can see it. Let's see, I just recently did one. Yeah, right there. So you can see all of these that I searched right here.
Wow.
And so how I did that is I just dropped a pin in this area. So you can just click on the map and it's gonna, let me put it on search neighborhood. So I can drop a pin here, and you can see that it then put the address up in the search bar. And then I'm actually going to switch it back to search boundary. And you can also change it to be show properties for for how long they're owned, any amount of time, 6 months, 12 months, however many you want. And then you can choose how many phones per lead, 1, 2, or 3. 3 is going to give you.
Real quick, yeah. I'm going to ask Brendan this, have you found is a significant amount of time? If it's I definitely don't want to do anybody less than 12 months or less than 18 months. Is there a number that you have found doing this that you, or do you ignore that?
Yeah, we ignore it. We try not to get limited on it, because think about it. Even if they just bought it and they bought it as a rental, maybe that first year they're going, oh my gosh, I bit off more than
what did I do, right?
This is a nightmare. I thought this was going to be way easier. So, or if it takes them 10 years, we want to start building that relationship out of the gate to know that I am your landlord. I'm the friend of all landlords, right? I'm here to help you, to provide value. We also do, informational posts to help them with winterization things. It's like marketing to a regular group. It's just you're saying, I'm the specialist in this. That's all.
Nice. Okay, cool. Allison, back to you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to keep it at any amount of time here. And then you can choose how many you want. So you can do 25 all the way up to 500. So I'm going to do 200, just kind of like a middle ground here. And then I'm going to draw my boundary. So you just click on the map and it drops a pin. And then you click again and it draws a line, and then again and again. So you can see here, I've got my boundary here. I actually want to include this the red one that I dropped. So I'm going to move it over just a little bit, and then I'm going to click preview. And then it's going to show me 200 leads that are inside this boundary. And that looks good to me. So I'm going to pull those leads. So I press get leads. It's asking me if I want to look up them again. I'm going to say no, ignore the duplicates for any that I've already looked up. And then you're going to see that it's creating leads over here. So as I scroll down on the left, you can see my GeoLeads folder here. And it's going to create a new one for today. And it's finalizing that. There's the 200 leads. So this isn't just absentee owner leads right here or non-owner occupied. We now have to filter this specific search that I just did. So I'm going to come back up, click on filters up here, and then click on more filters again. You're going to see here under folders that this folder is already selected. So it's just filtering these leads in this folder. And then we'll come here to listing and do non-owner occupied and then close. Looks like there's only 17 in that 200 of non-owner occupied. It's going to obviously depend on your area. If it's a higher area of renters versus owners of properties. But that's how you do it with GeoLeads. Is there anything else with like specific lead types that you want me to show?
Well, I mean, there was a quick question. Let me get that answered. Is there a way to filter out age of owner on title or percentage of equity? So we saw the amount of time. Is there an equity filter as well?
No, there's not an equity filter, but that is a great suggestion. And so being in the position that I'm in, I can definitely send that up as a feature request. So thank you.
Okay, awesome.
But Brendan, you using your rationale, don't get me wrong, it'd be great that the person has a lot of equity, but you're not going to limit yourself based on that, right?
Not at all. Not at all. Exactly right, Barry. Yeah, we're saying you never know somebody's situation as far as this goes with absentee owners. Because yeah, I don't care if they have equity. A lot of times they're just trying to get out of it. I mean, of course we care if they have equity, but I mean, they're trying to get out of it. It's going to be rare because think about it. If they bought it as an investment property, 9 out of 10 times, unless they paid cash for it, they had to put 20% down or 25% unless they were doing some special financing stuff that we don't know about. So there's equity in there, right? These aren't CHFA, FHA, VA, these aren't rental, these aren't, they're secondary income properties. So great question.
Well, in the TTL, I'm making sure I got that right. Yeah, TTL, that really is about the emotional pain points of being a property owner. And that doesn't necessarily really have to do with whether they have a lot of equity. It's basically, this is annoying and I want to get rid of it.
Completely. You don't screen the tenants right, and they move in and they start having bonfires in the backyard, and you ended up doing, you don't know all these things. I literally, one of my rental properties over the past weekend, the refrigerator broke and everything melted in the freezer, and the tenants, they had, I guess, $600 of special venison meat that they brought back from Montana that they hunted that they wanted me to pay for. Because the refrigerator broke, so they wanted me to pay for this dead deer, literally, this dead deer, because they were gone over the weekend and it all melted and the house smells like dead deer. I get that. That sucks. Do I have control over the refrigerator breaking? No, I don't have, come on, but they're screaming at me and I'm like, well, not at me, my wife, she handled it, thank goodness, but I could hear them screaming at her through the phone. So that stuff, it becomes exhausting. And then if you use a management company, right, you're giving up 10, 15%. And a lot of times then you're not even cash flowing it. So you're kind of like, what am I doing this except maybe to build equity? Yeah, it's just pain. Trying to find.
I'm really impressed that you guys manage your own rentals. I don't even get mail for mine.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was one thing I vowed. But I love what you said, Brendan, because I think everyone who's listening might want to key in on that. We're looking for the pain point. And the reason that we're going to do continual marketing, and I'm assuming that Brendan will go over and show us some of our marketing as we talked about scripts, but at some point in time, you just want to be the guy in front of them when they're in the most pain. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do, right? It's not, oh, Brendan talked me into selling my property. No, Brendan just happened to be there when I was ready to pull my hair out, and I don't have a lot of it left. So, that's one of the things that, it's ready to go there. Exactly. So, perfect. But all right, awesome. Well, if anyone doesn't have any other specific thoughts, why don't we go into, now I've got these leads. Let's assume for the sake of this conversation, we pulled 50 leads out of RedX, and we've got their name, phone number, email address. What are we going to do with that? What's literally the next step now that we've got the data?
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you a couple of different scenarios. The first one is what we like to leverage a lot is cash offer. So Brian, if you just want to role play with me, it should be pretty simple. So ring, ring, you say,
hey, this is Brian. How can I help?
Hey, Brian, this is Brendan Bartic with the Bartic Group at Keller Williams Real Estate. Hey, Brian, I was giving you a quick call. My business partner had reached out to me and he said he'd like to make a cash offer on your property at 123 Elm Street. Do you have any interest in selling that property?
Yeah, I would consider a cash offer.
Well, he's very kind. Let's say that he says no.
No,
right?
Absolutely not. I'm keeping it forever.
Okay. All right, great. So, all right. So you're keeping it forever. So you've got a tenant in there now?
We do.
Okay, excellent. And Brian, even if the offer was insane, I mean, I'm sure you've heard where the market's at right now, cash, flexible, close, absolutely no interest in selling it.
I don't think so, but I would be interested in hearing the offer. Maybe you could change my mind.
No worries. Okay, perfect. Well, I'll come to that. Let's say you said no again.
No,
right?
okay.
We get a lot of no.
I don't know where my scripting's going. Sorry.
Yeah, every time I do role plays, people are like, that's not how it happens in real life. I'm like, I will exactly the way it happens in real life. So you'll say no, even though you're thinking about these pain points, right? And I'll say, okay, Brian, well, let me ask you this. If you were to ever sell the property for a number that made sense for you, when would that be and what would that number look like?
Honestly, Brendan, I haven't taken a look at that number. It would have to be pretty high because we use this property for cash flow. And I guess maybe if something changed significantly, maybe I couldn't rent it out, or maybe I decided I wanted to move someplace else. I hadn't given it a lot of thought. I was really planning on keeping this as part of my retirement.
I love it. I love it, Brian. And were you aware how much equity you have built up in the property now? Have you had a recent market analysis completed on the home?
I haven't. Again, I really wasn't thinking about selling. I was more worried about cash flow than equity.
No, Brian, I completely understand. Why don't I go ahead and do this? I do this for all of the landlords that I help throughout the entire area. I'm going to go ahead and email you a comparative market analysis. It'll show you all the numbers, where you're currently at, and then that way you can always have that information available to make some decisions if it might be the right time now or in the future. In addition, I also send out a quarterly market report that's going to give you all the stats. Now, Brian, would you like to have that by email or regular mail?
I think email would be better.
Okay, email. All right, perfect. So I'll send that to your email. And then, Brian, I'm showing that you currently live out of state. Do you have any other investment properties here that I might be able to provide you an analysis for?
Yeah, I own 123 Main Street as well.
Perfect. I saw that in your portfolio. That's an excellent property. Okay. And same question. Even if we were to make you a cash offer, it was the number you wanted, any desire in selling that property?
Yeah, but I'm in the same place with both of those properties. Ultimately, again, we're using them as retirement income at this point.
I love it, Brian. And are those properties managed by a property manager, or are you handling that yourself?
I live out of state, so I have a property manager.
You have a property manager. Okay. And are they taking a certain percentage of that monthly?
Yeah, they take 10%.
Taking 10%. Okay, so 10%. Well, Brian, I appreciate you taking the time with me today. I'm going to send you those market analysis. If there's anything that ever changes in your situation, feel free to give me a call. I'd love to talk to you further about your properties.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Brendan.
And that's it. And so, Brian, all we're doing is updating data. It's never not that it's never. I would say 1 out of 20 calls is somebody that actually wants to do something today. And by something, that means weeks from now. Here's the thing that we know, Brian, are also things that are not pain points, but that landlords are concerned about. Sometimes they know the tenant, right? So they don't understand that they can sell this property with the tenant in place, still move forward, not spook the tenant. So a lot of my conversations, and when we start getting into the more scripting, well, it's not even a script, it's just conversation. It's explaining to them that I can make this easy for you. if you wanted to, this could happen. Now, on that initial call, I'm just trying to get a status, right? I'm just saying, Brian, I'm here to help. Now I'm going to send you a comparative market analysis, right? And again, I always tell agents you should be doing one CMA a day. One CMA a day keeps bankruptcy away. That's what I've always said, right?
All right. Much better than an apple.
Yeah, because if you're not sending out CMAs to people, first of all, you're not getting practice at valuing property. And number two, that's what people want, right? You know, they always say, well, I've seen Zillow, I've seen Redfin, I've seen my blah, 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 blah. But when they see a really detailed analysis that takes you 15 minutes to make, which you should be doing anyway, to understand where everything's at, and that you put that time and effort to complete that for them custom, they're going to go, wow, what a value, what a resource. And when the time comes, because I guarantee you, think about this, no other realtors are doing this, right? It's not like everybody calls it, no offense, everybody calls expireds everywhere. And when I say everybody, there's 19,000 agents here in our Front Range area. I would say probably 100 call out of 19,000, right? So when we say everybody, that's how, yeah. But think about, and how few do that. If you think so many few are doing that, think about how many few are connecting with absentee owners.
Well, and this is a great thing, and maybe you can talk to this. So I've called FSBOs, I've called expireds, you know, I'm an agent, I've done that stuff. So, but here's what I'm guessing, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm guessing these conversations are significantly better. They don't ever go like this. You're the 37th agent to call me today, go to hell. That doesn't happen because you're the only agent who called them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the only agent and you're coming with value. Now, the reason I opened up that script with cash offer, so here, I just want to clarify, if you're going, well, I don't have a partner and I can't make a cash offer, or if you don't want to make the offer yourself. If I'm making the call myself, I just say, yeah, I saw your property. I was interested in making you a cash offer. Here's how that plays out really, okay? It's not that I don't want to buy their property for cash. Usually it just opens the door to a conversation. Brian, as soon as I started talking to you about if it was a crazy number, if it was a big number, you're going,
I'm kind of interested. Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, like
everything's got a price.
Yeah, what are we talking here? Right? Yeah. So it gets me in the door. Then I can do an assessment for them. So now if it's tenant occupied, I'll say, Brian, let's say, because we didn't play out if you're interested, you say, yeah, you know what? Hey, I'd be interested in that actually. I'd say, great. What I need to do is coordinate a time to go and view the property. After I do the property, I'll come back to you with the cash offer assessment, and then we can discuss if it's the right fit with you, and then talk about how we can handle the tenant to make sure that everything works out with their lease and the lease estoppel, and well, that's all, you know, later on stuff. Sure. But we'll make sure that everything's fine with the tenant. And oftentimes I'll go, do you personally know the tenant? Do you have a relationship with them? No, the management company, if they have no connection to it, then this is just business.
Easier,
right? Yep. Just business. If they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I know Nancy and she's been renting from me for 17 years. I'm just scared she's going to get kicked out. She's not going to have anywhere to go. Then we talk about, you know, how we can make it less painful for the tenant, right? And I'm going to talk a lot about this here in a second, because this is critical to make sure everyone understands how to sell a tenant occupied property once you get the listing, because it's different. But if they say yes to the cash offer, I will coordinate either with the management company or with them directly. Now, here's the thing. The tenant or the landlords don't want the tenants to be spooked. This is the thing. So I'm not going to tell you, I'm just going to tell you how I've seen others negotiate this, right? You go over as the tenant and you're just there to do an appraisal for a refi. And I'm just telling you what people do, because if you spook the tenant and go, hey, your owner's thinking about selling this joint, and I don't know where you're going, but you're probably going to be screwed. Well, then the landlord freaks out. So I'm just telling you, there's techniques to do this if you want to access the property without them having a nervous breakdown.
But and let me ask you this, Brendan, because I think a lot of people have a wrong perception of this. If I'm in a 12-month lease that started last week, you have to honor that lease if you buy the property,
no matter what. Yep.
So that's another thing to, you know, if you do run into a tenant who figures out they're trying to sell the property, that's look, you know, I'm required by law to honor the lease. Not even I'm a good person, just I'm required by law, because good people sometimes aren't that good. So, you know, definitely if you know about that, that's something that you can do to get the tenant to go, oh, okay, this doesn't mean I get kicked out. That means I've got at least another 10, 12, 8, whatever months left.
And even when that's exactly right, Brandon. When you speak to the tenant, you can always just say to them, look, so I specialize in tenant occupied properties. My goal is to bring in a buyer for this property, make it as painless as possible for you. continue on your lease. Nothing is bothered with your lease. And then with the new landlord, if you decide to extend, you're more than welcome to, just as you would with your current landlord, right? Nothing changed. And it's just that tone has to be, everything's fine, no problem. Like, we're all going to be okay. So with that cash offer, oh, sorry, go ahead, Barry.
No, I thought, go ahead. I do have a question, but I'll let you finish.
Okay, yeah. So then I go do the assessment. I'll do the assessment. And then, Brian, I'm going to call you back if you live, out of state. And I'm going to say, Brian, I did a complete detailed analysis based on looking at the property, the things that need to be updated and corrected and all of this. I'm willing to offer this, or my business partner is willing to offer this. That's always 70 cents on the dollar.
That's a great question I was going to ask.
Yeah, if I think the
What's that
property is
number?
100 grand, I'm offering 70. If it's always 70 cents on the dollar for me. And the reason is, a lot of times on my team, I have people out there sourcing properties for me. The commission's built into that for them, right? The finder's fee. Then I've got repair, and then I got to make some money, right? So there's going to be things that need to be updated and repaired on that. So we have that cash offer program. Now, when I say that, you go, 70 grand for that, I would keep it. And I go, Brian, hey, I get it. And first of all, Brian, I was thinking about it. I don't even think a cash situation looks best for you right here. What I would recommend is our maximum net program. That's a good
maximum net program. Write that down.
Yeah, I was like, love maximum net program. Our maximum net program, where we work with your tenant, all I need is to coordinate with them a first weekend to allow me access to the property. I have a huge list of investors, buyers, agents. I'll get as many people into the property within a 4 to 5 hour window, and I won't bother your tenant. You'll never hear a word from them. I'll handle everything. Get everyone in there, and by Monday, I'll have offers, if not multiple offers for you, unless, of course, for some reason, the market doesn't respond to the price. And you're going to get, obviously, at minimum, 24% more than you would doing it the other way, at the absolute minimum. But usually what we see, Brian, in this instance is a bidding war and a frenzy, and then we get you even more than what you were expecting. So that's what I would recommend, and I can go through that, and then I would take them through the entire process.
And here's the thought, and I'll let Barry say it too. One of the things that all the agents out there who are complaining about this, I got no place for my sellers to go. Guess what? The sellers don't exist. So we've already conquered one objection. They don't live there anyway. So I want you guys to think about this. If you're looking, going, well, I don't know if I want to do this. This is a huge opportunity to not have to deal with what's going on in this market of, I can sell your house in 15 minutes, but you got no place to live. So.
Exactly right.
Yeah, no, that's a great insight.
I always say he who controls the deal, you'll always have options to getting the deal done. You just have to go and source opportunities. Right. And if you don't have a cash partner, you don't feel comfortable saying, well, I'm going to make these cash offers and I don't. I always tell people, I'll make the offer from any state possible. Present me the deal. I'm sure Barry will too. Mm-hmm. Let me, if it's a good deal, you have a friend in the diamond business, right? I always make that joke, like, I'm your cash offer. Like, you just be like, my boy Brendan is looking for properties. Seriously, though, that's the thing. People get in their heads about this, that this cash offer thing is like so nerve wracking. And what if they say yes? And do I just whip out an offer? That's a whole nother line of coaching, right? There's systems and tools to this, but the answer is yes. If you get a deal at 70 cents on the dollar, and I get them all the time. I mean, it happens all the time. That's how all these companies exist. That's how wholesalers exist. They're out there. It's just whoever sources them and finds the deal. Someone in your office, someone in your family would love to buy a deal 70 cents or a home 70 cents on the dollar with a built-in tenant immediately building equity.
Yeah, they're not hard.
If the people say yes. Right?
Absolutely. Barry, you had a question.
Well, yeah. I think one reason why people have trouble with absentee owners is, when you go back to the script that you used, it really is like a business to business sale. It's not, I'm going to use this way of talking to someone and trick them. Not that normal expired follow-up, but like there's all these little things you can do and all this. And this is more of just by sheer presence and offering your services. So my question is twofold. One, when you're doing this, how many hours a day, days of the week do you recommend that they make these dials inside of RedX? And then the second is by Alvin. Do you leave a voicemail? If so, what do you say?
Great question.
Absolutely. So great, two perfect questions. So first question is how much time should you put into the effort of it? So I try to segment my calls for absentee owners 1 day a week, right? So like I work the different segments a little bit differently. We call expireds every day because you have to, right? We call for sell by owners. So I have my rankings of what you should do first to the very bottom every day. So in my order, it's always expireds because we know they want to sell. They already know they want to pay a commission. They just need me now. They need a hero. Number 2, for sell by owners, we know they want to sell. We just know that they are not ready to pay a commission yet, or they don't know how great I am. So I have to talk to myself, right? So they haven't met me. Then number 3 for me, it's rent by owners, meaning that the homes are actively available for rent, which is similar to an absentee owner, kind of, right? Similar. And then absentee owner after that. Then for us, it's just sold, just listed, center of influence, and then past clients. So I run through that regiment every day to a certain aspect. But to do my actual program of absentee owners, I try to work on it 1 day a week. And for me, that's on Thursdays, just to know that I'm developing it. And that I build those relationships. I do all my follow-up for it. And Allison, I think what she just showed us looked like quantum physics to probably most of us, right? She was like, ching, ching, pew, pew, choo, choo, choo.
She was
right?
pretty
We're
quick.
all going. I know I was like, I know exactly what she's talking about because I've done it. It's just like everything. It's another reason I tell agents, Brian, I go, that's why no one's doing it. What she just showed you, you know how few of a percentage of agent will ever do what she just showed you? I'm saying
1, 2, maybe
2 in an entire market area. That's why it's so unexposed. And then the second piece, they'll finally figure out how to do it. And honestly, Allison, what is it going to take them? 2 hours, 3 hours to figure this out and to get used to doing it? I mean, if they're not you and have a techie mind, right? But once you figure it out and you have to put some time into it. Then the next thing we know they won't do is they won't do it consistently over time.
Yes.
So there's another window of opportunity there. So it's just those people that just understand that I'm going to have some setup. It's going to take some consistency, and then it's going to blossom. It's not going to be, so I made 5 absentee owner calls and they all told me to go to hell. Well, welcome to the world.
Seriously.
Welcome to lead gen, baby. Like that's what we do. But that's where and then they stop right there and they never go forward.
So Brendan, you mentioned rent, and this is about absentee, but you mentioned RTOs, rent to
rent by owners. I call them rent by owners.
Rent by owners. So I just want to ask Allison real quick, like you guys provide that data. That's something that I can pull to. And is that an extra thing, or does that just come with my standard RedX account that I get?
All of our services are technically a la carte. You can choose which ones you want on a monthly all the way to an annual plan. So you can pick the packages that you want really, and any additional service that you have on top of your original like lead gen, any additional, like say you have expireds, anything on top of that, you also get a bundle discount with it as well. Nice. And so yes, we do offer for rent by owners. It's one of our 5 lead generation services that we offer.
Perfect. So I'm going to answer a question real quick by not answering it. Somebody asked about tax implications. I'm going to give you the standard realtor answer, talk to a CPA, because neither Brendan, Barry, or Allison or I are going to give you that advice. So there is tax implications, and I'm not going to tell you what they are because you should talk to a CPA. With that in mind, we got to, Barry knows a guy.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, you just say, I know somebody that can tell you, you stay in your box though.
Absolutely. So, don't be a CPA, don't be an attorney. That's pretty standard.
Brian, to that point too, there's also programs and buyers out there that are buying these rental properties where to help avoid the tax situation. That's a whole
1031.
Spend another hour on that, where you get like a share of a pool, of a buyer pool. I mean, there's so many ways to structure this. Once you dive into it, it's like saying, well, 99% of agents can, because I role play a lot with our agents and nationally. And you ask somebody, can you explain to me how a 1031 exchange works? Good luck, right? Good luck.
Seriously.
Again, because that's how I know. I go, think about, she just showed us 17 in a little area about this big.
It was tiny.
That's how big. It was 17 of them there. No one's servicing this market. No one is servicing this market because of these things. They're scared of tax implications. How does a 1031 work? If they need to sell, and how much are they going to be, you got to get into it. You got to start learning. Watch a YouTube video every single day until you're the master of your domain. Like start trying to figure this stuff out, but you got to start. You just have to start, pick a day and pick the 50.
Well, and I want to say is we've got about 3 minutes left. So bring it home with the last couple brilliant things I need to hear so I can walk away and do amazing things.
Yeah, well, the other script there, Brian, too, is a lot of absentee owners own a property. Obviously, they're just landlords. Even though they're absent, they might not be out of state. So when I'm having that call, if I don't want to use a cash offer, or if I want to use that as my intro, let's say I just want to call up and I go, hey, Brian, I saw that you had a property at 123 Elm Street. I'm working with a lot of buyers in the neighborhood right now, Applewood, whatever your neighborhood is, Highlands, blah, blah, blah. And I'm working with a lot of buyers in the area, and we are struggling to find any properties for them to purchase. So I was curious if you had any interest in selling your property. Oh, no, I got a tenant in there. They're on a 6-month lease. Or I got a tenant in there with a 1-month lease, a 2-month lease. You start finding out the data, figuring all these things out. So you don't have to go cash offer. Then I go, okay, well, excellent. And Brian, do you live here locally? Oh yeah, I'm just over in XYG adjoining neighborhood. Oh, wow, okay. Oh my gosh, that place is on fire right now. Well, Brian, if you were to move and you got a great offer on your house and it was a perfect situation, where would you go next? You would say, blah, blah, 2 years when Johnny graduates, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I go, oh my gosh, that's exciting when Johnny graduates. What high school does he go? All that. And I start building rapport, adding data, right? And then if that was a perfect situation, when would that be, would be my next question, right? So then we have that information. And so I just start going through these checkdowns. I offer a free market report. I can come by. I like to meet with a lot of people in the neighborhood to give them tips and tricks on how to get the most return on investment for their home. I'm actually going to be in your neighborhood. I'd love to stop by. So Brian, in the last 3 minutes, what I'm trying to say is you've got to start practicing these conversations, and you just have to continue to work on building rapport. Then it's just make friends, update database, make friends, update database. People get so scared about these things because they're just like, oh, I'm a salesperson. No, you're not. You're a value offering machine. You offer value. That's all you do every day. And those who offer the best value and are able to connect with people make the most money.
Yeah, because you're solving a problem. Go ahead, Allison.
Sorry, just a little tidbit into that with practicing as well. If you purchase our services, we actually have a free service where you can call into our role play queue and you can practice that. And so you can practice building up that rapport. And it's a great way to just get that first awkward call out of the way. So when you call the actual owners, you're not having as awkward a conversation.
Yeah, and
that is actually a really cool feature.
Very, that's high-end stuff. Like I would charge you too much money to do that with me. So you should use it for RedX for absolutely for free, right?
No, and you should use it for RedX, and you should use it. You need to have different role play sessions, partners. So even with our company, we have it nationally every Monday and Thursday. Anyone can join. We have people all across the country. It's 12 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Just go to our Facebook group page. You can check it out. It's Brendan Bartic Coaching. We have people come in from all over, because it's intimidating. And then if you're there with friends practicing this stuff and you hear it, sometimes people just come. I've had people that have been there for a year, never participated once, just come to listen, just because they want to hear it over and over and over and over, right? If you want my entire script book, we offer it for free. It's brendanbartic.com. Download the script book. All of our absentee owner scripts are in there, all of those. You got to just practice and then make it your own. And then it's a lot less terrifying. It's always going to be terrifying. Let's be honest. You're calling a random person in the middle of nowhere that you have no idea connection with. You got to get over that though. And the only way to get over it is practice.
I love it. And that's really what this is all about, guys. It's no different than anything else we do, but I teach a lot of language and communication and role play stuff too. And I think you hit it on the head. You don't want to practice on your clients. You want to, or potential clients, because they won't end up as your clients if you're practicing on them. But you want to practice with somebody in your office. You want to get into Brand's role play. Or again, what an amazing offer for RedX to be able to call in. And here's the thing: they're experts at this. This is what they do every day. So is Brendan. Don't get me wrong, but this is what they do every day. It's a great place to practice with. Don't miss an opportunity to do something like that. So somebody asked about the website, and I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat. It's just brendanbartic.com. That's correct. And you also have a Facebook page, and the Facebook page is
Brendan Bartic Real Estate Coaching.
There you go.
Facebook group, private group. Yeah, it's awesome.
Absolutely. So we ran a couple minutes over, but I would love to hear final thoughts. Allison, I'll start with you. What's your final thought from our webinar today?
I just loved hearing about all of this and how you guys, Brendan, specifically how you use our system to do this. It's wonderful to hear that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I always tell people, Allison, RedX changed my life. I was dead broke. I had no money. I got RedX, and this is like when RedX was born. I think it was like the first year RedX came out. Locked myself in a closet, started using RedX, made a fortune. I would not be here if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That's a heck of a testimonial. Barry?
I am going to get a t-shirt that says Brendan Smooth Like Butter Bartic, and just wear it on the next webinar. So that's my takeaway.
That is so kind.
But the content's really good. Really,
though.
Yeah, and I actually took a lot of notes for my ISAs, so I appreciate the insight.
Good.
Brendan, final thoughts?
Yeah, no, as I said, it's leveraging the technology. People get scared of the RedX. They get scared of how to use a dialer. They get scared of these things. And because of that fear, they'll never move past it. And they can't figure out, the game has changed, right? The game has changed. And I tell people, if you want to take 20 years to build a career, then do it the old school way. If you want to build a career in the first year or 1 year or maximize your career, you're going to need help. You're going to need tech leverage, script leverage, and a community that's going to be cheerleading you on to support you. If you get all of those things right, you'll have a huge, huge successful career. Otherwise, it's going to be tough. So leverage the things that are available to you. And the other thing too is when people are looking at the cost, it blows my mind, Brian. They're like, oh, RedX, there's a cost to it. It's like, yeah, do you realize how much
cheap.
they're doing?
It's really, really cheap. Inexpensive, not cheap.
About it. But then people get it and they're like, oh, you know what? It's like, you have to work, right? It's not a magic pill. It's a resource that provides leverage. So you can do more faster and smarter. And I also say this, Allison, they have to take time learning it. Take as much time as you can. Take a Sunday and just go, it's RedX Sunday. I'm going to sit here and watch every help video. I watched everything, and then I'm slow. I have to watch it 4 or 5 times. You got to understand how to use the tool.
And that's what we're here for as well. I mean, you can call us, you can chat us. We are more than willing to help you do full trainings. There is a help center that we update regularly. So yes, that we're here to help you to find success using that system. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you for everybody for being here today. And then a couple final thoughts I put in the chat. There is a discount if you sign up through the link in the chat, or if you're watching this on Facebook, it's also in the Facebook. We'll give you RedX will give you $150. I'm not writing any checks. RedX will give you $150 off the setup fee. So they'll waive the setup fee, which is a great opportunity as well. And you guys are a month to month, right?
Month to month, quarterly, semi, whatever you want.
So what am I saying? I'm saying worst thing that can happen is you go and you spend 1 month and for whatever reason you don't use it, then you can cancel it. But what an opportunity to try something out, no setup fee, and then just go month to month on the front end. But I think anybody who's serious is looking for adding another lead generation source, and Brendan would probably agree with this. My philosophy is add 1 a quarter. This is a great thing to add for the 4th quarter of the year. This is really the time of the year that I personally believe that the people get frustrated as the winter comes along and you've got holidays and Christmas. And I'm really sick of dealing with my tenants during, Thanksgiving dinner. So I appreciate that. And then also, if you want to watch this, there was tons of great nuggets that Brendan dropped all throughout this webinar, and being able to see what RedX is. We will have this replay up on the YouTube channel ASAP. So thanks again, everybody, for being here. And I hope everybody has an amazing day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.